Megaquarium and Megaquarium Freshwater Frenzy DLC are Auroch Digital's newest release on both the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox consoles, and then you can also pick up the game on PC via Steam. This is a sim strategy management game that has you running an aquarium that puts the tools all in your hands to be able to make just about the best aquarium possible, to not just be able to keep customers coming back and keep the profits going high, but also keep the creatures that you're taking care of as happy as can be. Now, originally I was asked to check out this game on the Nintendo Switch, which I did, and I'm going to be talking about that on the back end of the video, but I enjoyed it so much that I decided to pick it up on the PC as well, since sims are almost always played better on a keyboard and mouse. With that said, I will just quickly mention that the Nintendo Switch version runs extremely well. That is not a problem here, and that is not the reason why you're seeing PC gameplay. It's just that I decided to play the game ultimately on PC. Now, when you pick up the game, you can purchase it just the main version of the game, Megaquarium, which has been available on Switch and on PC, I believe, going all the way back to like October of 2019. But Megaquarium Freshwater Frenzy is the brand new DLC that they added in, and it adds a couple of features. Now, the main game also includes, of course, a campaign mode where you're basically given tasks to complete and you move on. You do, however, get to keep up your creations from new task to new task. So you never really are starting from like a brand new fresh experience. Every single task is just continuous. So the campaign is more like a teaching tool than anything else. Then, of course, in like most sims, you also have a sandbox mode. This is basically available to create whatever it is that you want, that you may basically have learned through the campaign, and make it happen all over again in the sandbox tool. So if for whatever reason the already expansive campaign doesn't necessarily show you something, this is where you're going to be able to just do whatever it is that you want in the sandbox option. You're basically going to be building out tanks to make sure that the habitat is just right, and you need the proper equipment, you need the proper filters, and many other parameters to keep that specific tank prospering without any of the animals dying out. That is basically the main task of this. In order for you to be able to keep this up, however, your aquarium is always going to be growing. You're going to be giving new fish species, new accessories, new tools to be able to just make things a little bit easier on yourself and keep the profit going and be able to keep customers coming back, which is usually the main task. This is where your proper working UI comes into play, and it's fantastic. Just about everything is highly detailed and tells you what you need to do. Everything is color coded as well, so once you get a quick grasp of where you need to look, you basically see the clear layout, which helps you as your eyes basically drift to one specific area on the screen in the points of interest that you're after, and you're still going to be able to have access to all the information that you need. But because everything is color coded and clearly displayed, you're just like easily at a glance are going to be able to discern what it is that you need to do in order to be able to keep that tank prospering and in good health. Now, another big tool that sim games also need to provide you with is the fact that you need to be able to create and move things and remove objects with a breeze. And it's something that sims basically of all natures, it's imperative that this works right out of the gate, and there's no jittering boxes or any kind of clunky stuff or options that are missing. Basically, and I'm glad to report that everything is just working here as intended. There's no issues in that regard. It goes a long way to having a working system that's quick and efficient, from basically dragging and dropping things into place, I should rather say, without having the headache of removing things and rebuilding them up from scratch, which you can certainly do, but you don't want to do that most of the time. You just kind of want to drag and drop, and that is like an option on both on the PC and the Nintendo Switch. That is not a problem at all. Included in that seamless experience is the fact, like I mentioned at the top of the video, that there is a Freshwater Frenzy DLC, and it's kind of just part of the experience. If you buy the base game and the DLC together, there's basically nothing standing out like a separate mode or anything. It's just more options on an already extremely robust game. You now have the options to build new freshwater habitats, or at the very least, way more than were already before. You have access to tons of new facilities, new accessories to keep those new fish types happy, and of course, also one of the biggest selling points of the DLC is breeding. This allows you to create new hybrids depending on how well you do to keep the customers happy and the aquarium growing. So because everything is just seamless, you're never going to really be too concerned like if you're missing out on anything on the DLC or from the base experience. It's just more options on top of already great options. So that's always great to see. And because I had not played the base game originally at first, when I picked up both at the same time, I basically couldn't tell what was part of the new DLC or part of the base game. And basically Freshwater Frenzy is rounding out the package even more, and it removes that entire headache of like other DLCs for these type of games that kind of become their own separate thing, and it's just part of like the base experience now. Like, I wouldn't even recommend buying just the base game. If you could just purchase it with the DLC, it would go a long way because it just becomes a more robust experience all the way around. Now, I do want to quickly touch about the controls on the Nintendo Switch, and one of the reasons I think I ultimately made the Switch was the fact that, to PC I should rather say, is that because just the controls were like, I think it's better to play with keyboard and mouse. Sim games play way better in that regard, to me specifically. So it wasn't necessarily like the Switch controls are bad or anything like that. They're good, but like usually playing a sim game with a controller, there are some limitations. You feel like you could have done something a little bit more faster with a keyboard and mouse that ultimately controls on the controller do not give you that freedom, that option. It's not a limitation for the Switch itself or anything like that. It's just the controller ultimately feels the same way. If you could plug a controller onto the PC and try to play that way, you'll have the same issue. So, you know, it's just about playing on the keyboard and mouse. So for me personally, I just found that to be a better overall experience on PC. But I can't recommend this game enough. I didn't know anything about it until I was approached to it to check it out, and I'm glad I did, because it's just one of those sim games that just simply works. On PC, it's a great experience. It looks pretty good. On Switch, amazingly, the performance holds up. There's no real slowdown. You usually have the issue where in Sims, once you have enough things happening in not just the foreground, so that would mean, you know, people walking into your aquarium, things happening all around. You've got all these like brand new tanks and stuff like that, and then the underneath information that's happening, the RAM limitations and all of that, of like money being made, how many customers are happy, are your workers happy, are they doing they're supposed to be what they're supposed to be doing, you know, all those like menial things that you don't necessarily pay attention to. All of that ultimately like can eat up RAM, and the game, you would have presumed that ends up having issues performance wise, but that is not the case here. On the Switch, it runs very well, and of course on PC, you know, it runs even better, so it's not an issue at all. If you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up, and as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.